subtitle Conceptual Frameworks and Comparative Analysis. The idea was to bring specific case studies to a broader conversation. So I'm going to begin and end my paper with some very broad observations and raise some very broad questions, but then look at the specific historical case that historians like, and look at things in the long durée, as we say, the specific case of St. Tikhon, the Patriarch of Moscow. So the first point I want to raise, since we're talking about pluralism, politics, religious pluralism, is just kind of obvious, but a reminder that the path to modernity of the Orthodox world is a very different one than the Western world. And very frequently, I think, especially in Western academia, there's this tendency to look at the Western model as it has evolved in the West as the norm, and everything that doesn't fit that as somehow below the norm, and therefore to be judged in a critical fashion. And I'm not sure that that's entirely appropriate all of the time, or at least it needs to be understood more sensitively in historical context, what's happening, let's say, in Russia or elsewhere in the Orthodox world today. And of course, we could say that the path to modernity in the West begins with the Reformation and the split between the dominant religious tradition into competing religious traditions and the ensuing wars of religion in the 16th and 17th centuries that effectively, by the 18th century, let's say, forces the state to accept religious tolerance as a reality, right? And religious pluralism as a reality, and therefore, ultimately, in the long run, to separate itself from the state. And that's clearly the case in the United States. The reason you had separation of church and state from the beginning is because there was no single church. There was just simply too many of them. And nobody would agree, the Baptist church didn't want it to be the Anglicans, and whatever, the Quakers didn't want it to be anybody else, and so on, right? So that forced the reality of separation of church and state in the United States. In the Orthodox world, the path to modernity, for a long time, most Orthodox Christians lived either in the Russian Empire, the Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, that was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and the Ottoman Empire. And the imperial model, probably of any of those, was a very different one than the sort of Western modernity, where the dominant religious tradition clearly had a kind of preeminence and predominance, but the minority religious traditions were generally, as a rule, tolerated, so long as they didn't challenge the dominant religious tradition. So in Russia, it was Orthodoxy that was the dominant religious tradition, although in the 1897 census, only 64% of citizens of the Russian Empire were actually Orthodox, 11% Muslim, 9% Roman Catholic, 4% Jewish, etc. Right? In the Ottoman Empire, obviously Islam was the dominant religion, and Orthodox Christianity was the minority religion. But you still had you could say a comparable, I think, model of them. In Russia, of course, this imperial model lasted until the 20th century. In southeastern Europe, when you had the independence of the various nations from the Ottoman Empire, then you had a different kind of nation-state model. But still, in those cases, the Orthodox Church was still the predominant religion. So in this, basically, and then of course in the 20th century, it's a completely different experience where you have secularization in the Orthodox world, most of the Orthodox world, but it's not the Western norm of secular church and separation of church and state. It was a militant secularization that was forced from above, and it was not tolerant and did not allow for pluralism, but simply in effect replaced communism as the dominant ideology that would withstand no competition from religion. Right? And when we talk about Russia or Eastern Europe, I think still it's important to remember the experience of communism. It's not that far in the past. and I think its legacy is still extremely important. So anyways, coming to St. Tikhon, Patriarch Tikhon, the reason I wanted to focus on him, aside from the fact that I'm writing a book about him, is that in many ways I think he's the first figure who confronts modern problems in the Orthodox world in unique ways, in diverse circumstances. And so therefore, in some ways, is kind of a first really modern church leader. And since Orthodox always tend to look at the history for models, I think he's an important one to talk about. And just very briefly about his, of course, he's most known for being patriarch, becoming patriarch virtually the same moment that the Bolsheviks seized power. But his life up until that point was also quite distinctive for Orthodox bishops of that age. So he was born in northwestern Russia in 1865, and after finishing the seminary and the St. Petersburg Theological Academy, he spent most of the 1890s, his first posting, as it were, was in Holm, or today Kelm, today it's in eastern Poland, right? So this was an outpost of the Russian Empire, which had, until fairly recently, before his arrival, been the last outpost of the Greek Catholic or Union Church. Right? So this is a very special kind of environment where you had a religious diversity that was not true of, let's say, Central Russia. And then in 1898, he becomes the sole hierarch bishop of the Orthodox Church in North America, and he spends between 1898 and 1907 a very long time in North America. He travels all throughout the United States and Canada, and so of course this is a totally unique kind of circumstance where Orthodoxy is a small minority. Russians are even a minority of the Orthodox in North America. It's a very different political circumstance and so on. He returns to Russia in 1907 and becomes Archbishop of Yaroslavl, so kind of Central Russian, and then finally is Archbishop of Vilnius in 1914. So again, a kind of imperial outpost where the Orthodox again are a minority, until he finally becomes the first metropolitan of Moscow in the summer of 1917, and is elected patriarch during the Church Council in November 1917. And of course then will lead the church through its confrontation with the Bolsheviks until his death in 1925. Although my paper, I promised to talk about religious pluralism, and much could be said, I will focus just on his relationship to politics for the sake of time, just to say that wherever he was, whether it was in the United States or in Vilnius, he had this quite extraordinary way of making the Orthodox feel like he was their champion, while at the same time maintaining very positive relations with the religious others of the places that he was living in. He had very good relations with the Episcopal Church in the United States, especially. But in Vilnius, for example, he had good relations with Jews and Catholics as well. Right? So much could be said about that, but I won't take the time. In terms of politics, one of the tricky things about working on Tikhon's biography is that he's pretty reserved. He doesn't say things explicitly very often. He was no Antoni Krapavitsky or something who was constantly writing things and you knew what he thought about things. So sometimes you have to take either by example what he did or build the evidence on sort of fragments of things he said. But one of the most interesting moments where he's reflecting both on the American political system and the Russian one is a sermon he gave in 1905, in May 1905, on the anniversary of the Tsar Nicholas II's crowning. And this was a kind of sensitive moment when the Russo-Japanese War had raised some anti-Russian feeling in the United States. This is a recurring pattern. This is nothing new. And there was particular criticism of the Russian autocracy. The American press tended to regard the autocracy as despotism, and the primary reason for Russia's backwardness and so on, and that these Western attitudes about the Russian political system is also affecting Russians themselves, right? So Tikhon wanted to address this. And so in this sermon, he first of all makes the point that, that different nations have their own historical experience and culture, and therefore it's valid that they have different political systems, that one should not necessarily seek to impose a political system on a different nation that has a different experience, and for whom that would not be appropriate. So the democratic system is appropriate to the American experience, but not necessarily to the Russian one. Then he makes he tries to defend the autocracy. He saw himself as a representative of Russia as well as the Orthodox Church. So he felt sort of obligated, I guess, to defend the Russian system in this sermon, where he says that the advantage of the autocracy is that precisely because the Tsar is not limited in his power by anyone, therefore he's not under the sway of any social faction. He's not to be manipulated by the rich and powerful necessarily, right? He stands above that and therefore can be, he can rule for the benefit of all in an equal fashion, right? Perhaps somewhat naive in articulation or idealized. By contrast, he made some critical statements about democracy in the United States, where he argued that democracy was not, in fact, the direct rule of the people, because ordinary citizens don't have the means or the ability to conduct affairs of state. So, in fact, the ones who rule are the ones who are elected. And since the elected are not elected by everyone, but only by a party who are represent a majority, but maybe just barely a majority, therefore they rule not in the interests of all people, but, quote, only of their party, and sometimes even purely their own will, since they even forget about the promises which they poured out before their elections, and care only for the well-being and interests of their own party. And the opposing party they treat with in a despotic manner, oppressing it in every way and pushing it out of power. And I would say, especially these days, that his comments on American democracy are actually pretty apt. So he has a point, right? That the American approach was that democracy is the ideal and autocracy is despotism. And he says, well, actually, American form of democracy has its own despotic elements, and Russian autocracy is not necessarily so bad as it's perceived. Also, after the October Manifesto and the creation of the Duma, there was the possibility for elections, and he thought that Russian Orthodox clergy should run for election because this was kind of a crucial moment, and that the Russian society needed to be guided in a way by the voices of the church, and so therefore it was appropriate for clergy to engage in politics in that way. Once he returns to Russia, though, he really avoids politics. There were clearly attempts to get him involved in some of these monarchist organizations, and it appears that he maintained cordial relations with their leaders, but never actively supported them. After the revolution, of course, the Church Council, that is after the February Revolution and the collapse of the monarchy, there was questions about the role that the church should play. And so others, for example, Evgeny Pluralism and Sergei Bulgakov, called for the church and the Church Council to take some kind of path in between either staying out of politics altogether, or on the one hand, or on the other hand, actually affiliating itself with specific parties and trying to even produce lists of people they thought that people should vote for, right? Instead, according to Bulgakov and Trubetskoy, and the council tended to follow them, the ideal model was for the church to kind of state somehow its values, but at the same time stay above party divisions, you could say. After the Bolsheviks seized power, of course, all of this will be impossible. The Bolsheviks not only would not tolerate any role for the church in the state, but sought to marginalize the church and religion from the public sphere altogether, and even worse. And of course, Tikhon's response, beginning with his so-called anathema proclamation of January 19th, 1918, was to condemn specific actions that the Bolsheviks were doing, especially attacks upon the church, without specifically condemning the Bolshevik regime or any ideology or political system per se. And this kind of position will continue for the first year of the revolution. So, for example, he gives another powerful statement on the anniversary of the first year of the revolution, where he criticizes what the Bolsheviks have done, but he's not criticizing the regime. He states explicitly, I'm not supporting counter-revolution, I'm not calling for the overthrow of the regime. But it is my job to condemn violations of human rights and persecution of religion, violations against freedom of speech, and these types of things. So, of course, the result was that he was arrested, and as a consequence of which he wrote a letter to the Soviet states in December 1918 saying, quote, that I do not sympathize with many of the measures of the people's government. I do not hide and have openly written in an address to the People's Commissars before the anniversary of the October Revolution. But then I just as openly declared that it is not our affair to judge earthly power that has been allowed by God, and even more to undertake actions aimed at overthrowing it. It is our duty only to point out human deviations from Christ's great commandments of love, freedom, and brotherhood, and to expose actions based on violence and hatred, and finally to call all to Christ. Throughout the Civil War, he repeatedly made statements, again, that the church should not take sides in the Civil War, but its role should be to reconcile people, that the church should not side with the counter-revolution, and so on. Although he continued to be accused of fomenting and supporting counter-revolution, but he made explicit statements where he called the servants of the church by their holy orders should stand higher and outside any political interests. And he called on the clergy to guard themselves against, quote, those who create political strife and discord, and to avoid participating in political parties and demonstrations. And then finally, one last statement. When he was arrested and being interrogated, the interrogator, from the Tikhon, asked him what his political convictions were. And he basically told the interrogator it was none of his business. He says, quote, I will reveal them when I cast my vote for one or another form of government during a general popular election. Of course, which would never happen. But I declare to you that the Patriarch will in no case coerce or constrain anybody's conscience in the business of a general popular election. End quote. So in other words, he felt that, at least by this point, he was coming to the position that it was not his role as a church leader to try to tell people what their political positions were to be, that was an act of coercion to tell you how to vote, right, for example. So what do I draw from all of this? First of all, it's obvious that his own thoughts on these matters and views evolved and changed quite significantly as the political circumstances changed. But what are we left with when we stand back and think about how the Orthodox Church situates itself in the world today? I was recently reading something, and I can't remember what it was that I've been racking my brains for since I've been writing this paper, trying to remember what it was, but basically something that was arguing that if the church claims that it's neutral politically, that's actually the worst kind of politics, because then it leaves itself open to being manipulated by the government. Right? But on the other hand, I think the legacy of church involvement in politics, even recently, I see what happens in the United States, where the more that Christians tend to affiliate themselves with one political position, this actually is alienating a significant proportion of the population. I think one could also look at examples like what happened in Ireland and Spain, where kind of politicization of the church in certain cases led to serious disaffection of people with the Catholic Church in those countries, right? So there's the danger, staying out of politics may be a danger, and taking sides in politics is a danger, right? So where does this leave us? Not necessarily with the modern solution of the privatization of religion, right? Christianity wants to naturally have a voice in the things that shape all of life. But at the same time, by taking sides on specific political issues, this usually ends up dividing people rather than uniting them, which is its danger. So I just leave that